Good evening, everybody. Do you hear us?
Sarah?
Nobody.
I heard you.
I heard you.
Sarah ready?
I just did that. Hoping it just confirms it.
All right, yes,
It says live on YouTube. But assume that.
You're ready, perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, we're good.
All right. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. You guys aren't hearing us.
Yeah, go stand up.
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball. Play ball. Fair game, here we go.
Evening, everybody. Everybody hear us okay?
Yes?
I don't know, yeah. Sarah's not in yet.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to get started here. We'll move to take a roll call, please.
Trustee Barbian?
Present.
Trustee Olet?
Here.
Trustee Sabarowski?
Here.
Trustee McFall?
Here.
Trustee Stout?
Here.
Trustee Kedwick?
Sally?
She's here. She's here.
Sally, do you hear us?
Yes, barely.
All right,
I'll
just
turn
say
it
aye.
Okay.
President Birmingham?
Aye, thank you very much. Item number 4, we'll move to approval for special board meeting April 21st and regular board meeting of April 21st.
Move for the board to approve the regular board meeting minutes of April 21st, 2020, along with the special board meeting minutes of April 20th, 21st, 2020.
Second motion?
Any discussion or corrections? As there's none, we will take a roll call for approval.
Trustee Barbian?
Aye.
Trustee Olet? Aye. Trustee Sabarowski?
Aye.
Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee Stout?
Aye.
Trustee Kedwick?
Aye.
President Birmingham?
Aye, thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to number 5, citizens' first comment. Is there any citizens wishing to make a comment tonight?
Give me 1 second to unmute everybody that's on.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to speak, just give me your name and address and you can make your comment. Everybody who's unmuted who's an attendee.
Right, if anybody wishes to make a first comment and the first discussion here, please do so. Name and address for the record. Not hearing none, we will move along. Thank you. Going on to item number 6, standing committee. Trustee Barbian, the Finance Committee.
Thank you, President Birmingham. A couple of items on from the Finance Committee tonight. First item is discussion and possible necessary action to purchase a phone system for the police department, to approve the purchase of AT&T phone system not to exceed $20,000 for 2020 adopted budget. This is in the budget. Police chief explained it at that particular time. I assume someone's giving a little more background on it or not?
The chief is.
Okay. Chief, if you want to take over from here?
Sure, good evening. The Greendale Police Department currently uses the AT&T Avaya phone system. AT&T has informed us that in 2020, our current phone system hardware will not be supported and is at end of life. Updating our phone system hardware will give us the same IP-based phone system as Village Hall and the fire department. The system allows the same features as those departments and will once again be supported moving forward. The Greendale Police Department's been using our current phone system since moving into this building in 1998. AT&T notified us last year that the system that we had would be unsupported in 2020 and moving forward. This project is for the replacement of the physical phones in the police department. The current phone system is at end of life, meaning the hardware. If issues occur, the current system will be unsupported and it would cost us more to fix any issues or and the phones are not replaceable. There are no more parts. A new phone system, again, will make the police department consistent with the village hall and the fire department on an IP-based phone system, with the new system having approximately a 20-year projected shelf life. The current phone system used to support the police department and the court employees provides voicemail on an outdated analog system. IP-based phones are based on internet protocol and can function whenever or wherever there's an internet connection. Analog phones are much less, or do cost less upfront, but may run up a bill for later upgrades or configurations. IP-based phones may have a larger upfront cost, but upgrades and support are usually easier and less expensive. This was a budgeted item. I did come to the board during the budget session. I have budgeted $20,000. We received 2 bids from AT&T, who is our phone provider. The first bid was for a J169 phone, and the second one was for a J179 phone. The difference between the 2 bids was approximately $2,100 for the J179. After talking to the IT staff, we felt that there were some options that it provided that we did not need at this time. So we're going with the lower cost phone. And then the IT staff had quoted an additional $1,200 for some switches that we need. 2 would go into our EOC command post that we would have here at the Greendale Police Department if we ever had to set it up. And the third one would go into our detective bureau where we have cubicles. Total cost would not exceed the $20,000 I have budgeted, and I plan to come in under budget if approved.
Chief, real quickly, what is the timeline to get it in once it's approved?
So once I have it approved, I contact them, and we're about 2.5 weeks before we would get it on site, and then we would set up a time for them to install. It takes about 28 hours installation with AT&T working on it.
Thank you.
I have a question that I'll ask anybody else. Chief, I just have a question. Is there any ongoing charges year to year on this, just so I'm aware of for maintaining it, or contracts that have to be added in?
We have a maintenance fee, and that's already budgeted, so that would just continue.
Okay. Are any of the unused features that you don't think you're going to want now, are nothing that you think you might need in 2 years, or?
No. The 2 options that really that make the 2 phones different, one is wireless and the other one is Wi-Fi. And in talking to Ryan Jonas, this is definitely something we don't need. The wireless would give us the ability to use headsets, and none of us are using headsets here. And the Wi-Fi is something we don't need, so no.
Okay, those are the questions I had. Other trustees, please. Trustee-elect.
Just wondering, is this for the dispatchers also, or is it just the police phones?
Nope, it's not for the dispatcher phones. Those are that's a phone system with mics. These are the hard phones in the police and court. So we have between police and court and the phones, the extra phones for the EOC, we have approximately 47 phones.
You still use a lot of them, huh?
Yeah.
For cell phones?
Yep.
Okay. Other questions from trustees?
No, my question was answered. My only concern was, the options that weren't necessary at this time. And, you know, is that are we just kicking the can down the road, kind of like on that part is, what if, you know, in 2 years or 3 years down the line that, hey, we could use this option? And that was my only question, but you answered it, and I appreciate it, and hey, thanks for getting 22 years out of our phone system.
Yeah, exactly, eh?
Yeah, good.
Okay, if I see no one, Matt ready to answer?
Matt?
Sally?
Sally, go ahead.
Trustee Chadwick, question?
Okay. Yes, just a question. I've seen those headphones, if you will, and stuff. I personally think it's a marvelous feature. Okay, I'm a little bit surprised that Ryan said that wouldn't be something that you would be looking into the future. Because I do think it is something.
don't
Why is that being rejected?
I just don't think we spend enough time sitting at our desk where we would have to wear a headset and, with the ability to walk around the office. That's
Okay.
maybe in some other departments that would make sense, but here the officers downstairs, there's multiple phones in the room. So having one person with a headset wouldn't really make sense. Same thing with the
Okay.
sergeants. A lot of times they share phones, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but I'd just like to thank you for, really assessing what your needs were, for your department, and I think all of our department heads do, and put it out there, what you really need and what you maybe don't. So thank you for taking a look at that, so.
Any other questions at all? In that case, Finance Committee is motioning for the village board to approve the purchase of the AT&T phone system not to exceed the $20,000 budgeted per the 2020 adopted budget and as outlined by the police chief in this dissertation.
Second motion.
Could I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Gillette? Aye. Trustee Sabrowski?
Aye.
Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee South?
Aye.
Trustee Chadwick?
Aye.
President Birmingham?
Aye.
Trustee Burby?
Aye. Second item on Finance Committee is the internal audits that we do every month. This is the month that I had the audits. Randomly pulled P-cards, ACHs, and checks in a random manner and asked for detail on several of them. It met the audits from what I was looking for. The correct signatures are on there and explanations as to why it was purchased. And so I was very pleased with what was presented to me. Does any trustee have any questions on any of the items that are going to be looked at for approval from accounts payable?
Did you have a question, Matt? No.
Okay, in that case, there's no questions on it. I'm going to move on to the approval of accounts check payable for payments. Finance Committee recommends the village board approve the accounts payable following. Accounts payable, checks number 56500 to 56564, the amount of $170,666.56. ACH payments to be approved, number 12835 to 12872, in the amount of $440,322.31, and move to approve the P-card purchases number 1 through 40 for $170,300.99, grand total of $781,283.86.
Second motion?
Second, questions on anything? I see none at this point, so I'd like a roll call.
Trustee Sabrowski?
Aye.
Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee South?
Aye.
Trustee Chadwick?
Aye.
President Birmingham?
Aye.
Trustee Burby?
Aye.
Trustee Gillette?
Aye.
The last item on Finance Committee agenda for tonight is the status of accounts for March 31st, 2020. If we have any updates for that or not?
No, please.
So I just wanted to make a comment, overall, we're right on for, saying the order of business has gone high, but with everything going on with the COVID, we are looking at likely, to see the impact in much lower revenues, and then also additional expenses. We are, going through the process with FEMA to see what of the expenses that we can recoup, but lost revenues are not a recoupable item. So, that's a challenge, and we know just with the election and all the stuff that went on, additional expenses. So, as of, coming to the bottom line of all the village, and remember, some property taxes, we get more than, 25% received already for the year, so some things, are hooked up that are making it look like 25% on the bottom line, but as we go down, the road, we can just anticipate it's all gonna come around as months go by, and it looks like the percent that revenues are gonna be lower than we would have hoped, and that the expenses, we just had additional expenses. It also seems like, just talking to, that people are afraid to go to the hospital now maybe, so they would call the ambulance, so even if that's a ride, and it's because now, just a whole different time. So things that may have been normal, we'll see it as it comes going down, with more time over the month, but for, obviously this month, it looks like this, looks like it's okay, but, that's not what I'm saying.
What other expenses besides
Voting, the time for the firefighters that are doing things, the health department, even hired an extra person. There's a lot involved, for the health department working 7 days a week. Everybody's hooked up so that they're kind of nonstop monitoring the situation. They have to follow up with people, I don't understand, oh, sure, and then they have to, most of the part-time people have been basically just doing what needs to be done. So if they normally only work, 20-some hours a week, now maybe they're working a full 40 hours a week. And then those who are full-time already, but doing what needs to be done.
So question, I thought we were going to reimburse the health department for the hours that are working.
Well, so that we would hope to see coming down the road. For the additional expenses, we can hope for FEMA to come through, we have to document all that for it to come back.
Anything like the CPT, would be waiting until next year.
Oh, and in fact, they already said, typically they're slow, they have no idea, this is the whole country. They've
Yeah,
never
that's what
had
I'm saying.
such a.
I don't think you'll see this for a while.
Correct. If and when it comes through, it comes through, and you don't know, there's still things they're trying to figure out about what happens, the health department, I'm sure, that's all. I don't, but I would imagine that, that would all be stuff that, if there's the money to go around, that they would do it.
Mr. Michael?
The last, I think it was 2 different disaster declarations we had. One was for snow, heavy snow in Wisconsin. And the other one, I think, or maybe 2 for flooding, years ago. And FEMA was pretty good. I mean, if you could legitimately had an extra cost, additional nursing hours, clearly. I think that I'd say there's a very slim chance that it's gonna get reimbursed. They were pretty good, and, pretty honest. They weren't trying to, decide that we don't wanna pay kind of thing.
However, I will say from the stuff that they're still kind of figuring it out as they go along and coming up with what things may or may not,
Other questions for Chris? Trustee Smorsky?
Ongoing, we're gonna get the money for sure, what's happening, is there a way we maybe should cut back on our this, so that we're not full blown on this? Like with all these people working?
I can ask, but I don't think at this point we could.
And if we're having them work over 20 hours, well, they're 20 hours employee, why can't we just cut that out?
I don't know the workload. So far, everything Sue said to me is that they're all working full, as much as they have to. That, it's very difficult. You got to realize if there's one positive case, they then have to go track down everybody that person's been in contact with. They ran into one business that had a lot of people that spoke different languages, so they had trouble with that. Definitely, we're not going to staff any more than we have to, but at this point, I don't.
They're not trying to work overtime.
No, I'm not getting any indication. I wish Sue would have been here tonight, but she had to. She had to stay at home tonight for personal reasons. So I can certainly have her email the board, same thing she would say to
I think
us.
that's all.
I think that's not.
Why don't we, the finance committee would ask that if she could re-email the board to answer your question.
But I think, to me, in the midst of this, it might be an odd time to ask.
We're just asking that. I believe you're just asking for an update, right?
Yeah, I'm just,
Well, I don't know how much.
I just heard that when people are hiring extra people, because they think it's gonna reimburse any hour they have for extra hours. I don't want us to just do that, just because we think we're gonna get the money. So if they're saying we don't.
But this might be You know, this might be a good question to ask when Sue is here the next meeting, and we could ask her, does she see this as a possibility? I don't. But anyway,
I'm just looking long term.
yeah, I know what you're doing. So all about saving some money, yes, ma'am?
Just to add one other thing, so, maybe a month ago now already, they were, asked us, that we're going through with some municipalities, where they were saying, what do you think the effect will be of this for you, in this, the short term, which was March 1 through June 30th, mid was July through December 31st, and then beyond 2020. I mean, those are the kind of questions that are being asked.
Good question, I mean, that's what we need to kind of,
Good
you know,
update.
where we can look at, cutting costs, all businesses are doing it, mine is actuators, and we're all looking to cut some costs,
And I guess not the health department.
all right,
Okay. That's good question. Other questions of the finance committee before I close down?
no, I don't see any there.
Then that concludes the finance committee, President Birmingham, for tonight.
Thank you very much. All right, now we'll go to item B, Planning Commission, I don't think there's anything, correct?
Nothing until the 13th.
Thank you, Sally. How about the library board? Trustee Sal, anything?
We've not had a meeting, no.
Thank you. Public Works, okay. Board of Health,
No meeting,
very good. Well, Health Fair and,
no meeting.
yes, all yours. Park and Rec, anything come from them these days?
No meeting.
All right.
Um,
And, public,
Could I ask Trustee Sell a question? Have they set a meeting that's coming up where they're going to be deciding anything on green markets? As I've had a lot of questions on that.
that's, yeah, so that's.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I've not seen any correspondence on it, but I saw that, I believe on Facebook, they said that they're proceeding with it.
Excellent, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
talked to Jay. Okay.
So that I had a long discussion today and, with the market, so
To continue.
she'll be coming out with, you know, following what she needs to do, it's on schedule, and,
Excellent.
they'll be bringing what they're gonna do back to us, so I don't expect that will, you know, it's just kind of what we can bring into the market and what we can't.
Right.
Depending on, to me, it's June, it's middle of June. Is this whole thing still on, or is it?
A lot of people have asked us, what do you think it's gonna be? Well, it's whatever the rules are then. We won't be able to make them, we'll just, you have to react.
The rule is the way it is now, and, the bad part is our omelet we like in the morning won't be there. So, that's.
Well, the reason I had just asked, a couple of people saw, I believe it was Waukesha that had.
West Dallas open.
West Dallas.
Opening Saturday.
Yeah, and,
Our market will be open.
okay, that was the
Just what
question.
you can have, be there.
Right.
Why wouldn't it be, Jim? Why wouldn't the omelet be there?
Lots of food, prepared food, and that's, right now,
Food trucks are doing it.
well, they have to make them ahead of time and have the people, well, that's what I'm hearing. So I just had a discussion with that today, and I had the same question, but, they can bring their eggs and stuff, but I don't know if they can cook the stuff. So that's what I'm also changed.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on with that other discussion of that. And, public celebration,
No, meeting.
no meeting, excellent. All right, with that, we're gonna move on to.
Wait.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Where are we at for events?
Well, right now, everything's still on, nothing's been canceled, I mean, Fourth of July is still going, everything, nothing's
Yeah, so
been
we were
canceled.
gonna,
Jim was gonna find out from the ICC.
so actually, only one, municipality has canceled Fourth of July and fireworks, and that is, Glendale. Everybody else seems to indicate that.
And Milwaukee.
On.
Milwaukee canceled.
Well, Milwaukee, but I mean, one municipality around. Milwaukee is not having it, and Glendale, the push is kind of, to not have them, and I think it's really up to all communities. We, of course, I think the celebration committee pretty much wiped everything off until the end of June. So now we're into July and August, Village Days and some of those events, and, those are yet to be determined on what's gonna
So
happen.
you think, what about Fourth of July, what do you think?
Well, you know, I
Maybe
guess
we'll make that.
my personal opinion is I'd love to have Fourth of July and fireworks in Greendale, and I think I'd like to go and push for those as long as we can. And pushes on, I don't know how that goes, I don't know how you keep people apart, I don't know how you do a parade with keeping people apart. I don't know if we need to keep people apart at that time, we need to find out more. But I'm not for looking at, just like.
We are not going to make that decision.
You know, like even, I'm very involved in Irish Festival, and they canceled that. We had a meeting that night, they said, we're not canceling it, and the next morning they canceled it. And it's because a big group from Ireland that was coming was canceling it. So it may be the same thing we find with, Fourth of July. What if our fireworks guy says, we ain't here?
Right.
You know, so I don't know, so, all right. With that, we'll come on, to number 7, new business. There is no, new appointments tonight, or, resignations, and we'll move on to old new business. VOT 2032. Discuss the necessary action regarding consideration of waiving utility bill late fees. There's no motion, but just discussion. Thank you.
I was thinking maybe I should say my name for the record, since
Yeah.
it's not on the screen, but it's Assistant Victory, the Finance Director, Treasurer. So we had originally put it on thinking that maybe you would want to discuss whether or not that would be a good idea to waive those fees. And as I was researching it, I knew that the Public Service Commission had changed the Administrative Code 185 to boost some of the things that they had in there during this time. And in fact, where the code that guides the water utility that says you may not waive penalties, they changed it to say you must, there is no choice. So, I want to keep it on there so that we could, let all of you know, that if now sadly the, water bill has gone out and it has the due date, it says after the due date this month, but anyone who's calling, we are, letting them know, and it may be that they're having trouble, due to their situation right now, and we let them know that there would not be, a penalty.
And how long is that usually?
It is during the emergency.
Right, just during this emergency.
When,
As long as the government has their.
right, whenever I think they will, so 185 right back up to where it was, so once they'll let us know.
And I think the gas company is doing this, a lot of people are doing this on bill stuff that they're doing. But the deadline is when this is over.
Yeah.
It's not like the fee, the money goes away, but you.
Yeah. So I guess my last word would be right, so if someone is listening today, if you're struggling, but to know it's not, well, and also, just to know, if there was a penalty that was already applied, so if it was on, the last bill that's sitting on, those all stay, it's just that we would not add any penalties during this time. And to just plug away and do what you can, because you don't want to then wind up now to the next, because it has gone on so long and nothing's been paid, so, as people can do, at least there will be no additional penalties.
Right. Yeah,
I know this is about the water bill and the different utilities. Can we talk about the water bill? This is about, we've gotten so many complaints about the water bill, fire protection is on there. And, what I just want to ask is, the estimated bills that are out there, is there any way to get that fixed now, or does it have to wait till the next period?
Right,
And
so
what actually happens?
So it will all come around, it's a link, I think I put it in the email too, but it was a server, something crash or something.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what, you remember that we had some of the old meters that were, have a project in 2024 when those old meters are 20 years old and they need to be replaced because that's how long they, can last for. And then we have new ones that we've been putting in, as we go, but there's still a good number of the old meters. It was that old server thing that crashed and then didn't get us the reading. So as far as the estimates go, this is, I completely take that, I did bump it a little higher than what those readings were last time. That was a decision in hindsight. I feel bad that maybe I should have left it exactly the same. In my mind, I was thinking people are home, more people are home and being at home and using, just think about when you're on vacation, you use more toilet paper, you don't get, and so what I didn't wanna do was have it be low and then stop it to people the next time.
Next time it'll go up.
Bump it up a little bit. So, next time that there's a restriction, we will have a real reading, June 30th is the date that we try for, and then it can go like a few days before, a few days after, something, where it will true it all up. So if we have overestimated them, then the next one will be like, less, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I am telling anyone who feels, upset, and a lot that seems to be people who are very regular, maybe they're retired and nothing changed, they're home, they were home, they are still home, that they can absolutely short pay, there's no penalty. So for any 1,000 that, and it seems that it's 2,000, for whatever reason, it seems that people are, 2,000 or 1,050, that higher, to just subtract. So it's $7.46 for water, sewer, and metro sewer, that's the one that's based on, $7. So if it's 2,000 more than, it's short pay by $15. We don't report anywhere, I mean, even in the regular timing, we're not someone who reports to a credit agency or send delinquency, you know, it is, I mean, we do that for one time a year when it would go to the tax roll if it wasn't paid. But the rest of the year, we're not gonna, you know, hounding anybody or harassing. So if they want to, whatever makes them feel comfortable, we've been offering that to anyone who knows, that, and now that they're back up also, so we can see how it has read now, because did I have to be higher than what they even are today? So we've encouraged that. It seems most of the people are like, no, I'll just pay it now and all.
And I think I appreciate that. Listen, we're all knowing this village, this is what we do. We appreciate what you're doing on, it's what we expect you to do. Is that, you know, somebody comes to you any time, says they can only pay half the water bill now, we would say, yeah, okay, you can do that. So I think this is exactly what we expect, and we appreciate what you're doing, and that's the saying to them. If they think they're overcharged, put them down, you know.
And I really do apologize, this was the best of intention, I just, in my mind, and then you think about it after you get a few calls from those people that are just, nothing changed, and now so.
But really, if you have
It's not possible, it's administrative, though.
if you have 3 kids and they're home all day long.
It's the difference than when they're in school, so that's where I was coming from.
And then the next water bill, you would be in like $100 more.
And that's
Like watching their hands.
Now, it's important, if you were an estimated bill, so for anyone who's listening and for all you trustees to disseminate this, lots of people weren't recognizing or seeing where it is, but in the, upper right, and it's bold. So it says estimated consumption, if somebody was estimated. Again, we have some old and some new, it's just the old ones that's River Crash. So lots of people have, actual, I just really have them call us. Kathy Jones in the office is wonderful, and then if it's something that's beyond what she can handle, she sends it over to me, and, we will work it through, or talk it through, or explain it to the people. Most of the people might start off, feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so much, and then once explained, they at least understand. Nobody loves the rates being higher, we knew that. Another comment that I should make for the record, the board voted, we had gotten those rates back in August of 19, and we decided at that time, no, don't put down the October bill, no, don't start with the January bill. We wanted the public to start cleaning and to come in April, nobody knowing that it would be this time of the COVID. We were trying to do that to have it be better, and again, everything was the best of intentions for the citizens.
Because actually, we had done it back last fall, this would not be an issue now, as it is, but now people don't have money in a job, and they're really tight, and of course, the water. Just what we're trying to do is avoid this, we put it right in the middle of it, so. Any other questions on the water bill? I know that was, I know all of us received, emails and things on the water bill, people calling us, and claim. To me, people did call me and I explained what was on their water bill. I think that was more what they were looking, what is the 1650 for? Explaining what that is, whether they move on it or not, they now know that that's going to be a quarterly thing, it's regular. allows us to use more money for the roads, and that's really kind of what we did, is we took $400,000 and pinned it to the roads. And, so, I guess that's, no matter how you look at it, whether it's shifting money one way or the other, I think the residents are looking at it. So, what other questions on the water bill, guys? If not,
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for, doing that on, excellent. All right, with that, we'll go to, DOT 2033. Discuss the necessary action regarding the intergovernmental cooperation agreement for procuring personnel protective equipment and other necessary medical supplies in response to COVID-19 public health emergency. Manager Michael.
Thank you. This agreement was drafted by a number of municipal attorneys who, including our attorney. It's so that there can be centralized purchasing of the protective equipment and other types of equipment, and then the village could buy from that central location. I believe most of the municipalities already approved this. We were kind of holding on, waiting for them to approve it. So a lot of them have already agreed to it. Our attorneys, was part of the team that wrote it, so he's obviously approving it.
Who is the central group that would purchase it then?
County. Yeah, the county would be the central purchase.
Does this go just to a pandemic too, or is this a
No.
permanent thing for?
Just a pandemic. We don't have to purchase anything from them, but we can order. Yeah, the fiscal agent is Milwaukee County.
Pardon?
The fiscal agent is Milwaukee County. So that's.
So, whereas it doesn't commit us to anything else for the future, it just sort of.
No.
Just what,
We can stop you from wherever we want to.
No, that's what I was asking.
Just an agreement with everybody.
Oh, that important.
Only for the convention.
What's that?
No, this, no.
No.
This one.
I'll take a motion for.
Make a motion to approve BOT 2033, approve the intergovernment agreement for procuring personal protective equipment and other necessary medical supplies as outlined by Manager Michael, sir.
Second motion.
Well, any, discussion or, corrections on it? Pretty long, and I didn't understand everything, but we'll take your roll call for approval.
Trustee Nimball?
Aye.
Trustee Stout?
Aye.
Trustee Chapman?
Aye.
President Birmingham?
Aye.
Trustee Barbian?
Aye.
Trustee Olet? Aye. Trustee Sabarowski?
Aye. Very good. Moving on to item C, VOT 2034. Discussion and necessary action regarding an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement for law enforcement service for 2020 Democratic National Convention. Manager Michaels, or Chief, please. Chief, go ahead.
Yep, so basically this is another agreement. We had previously brought one to the board several months ago for the DNC. This is when they were asking for us to provide help for the Democratic Convention when it comes to town. Because the dates were changed, they had to send out another agreement. So in going through the agreement, and I did forward this to Todd, many of the things that have changed in the agreement are just the dates. They did put in a COVID-19, basically, if there's a continuance of the COVID-19 emergency, we can pull out of this and not send anybody. The training that was planned ahead of time will be done at the event for any officers that we send, but the big changes are just the dates. They're moving forward with a August DNC currently. So this is just something that has to go back in front of the board for approval, and then needs to be signed by the village president and the village clerk, and then I can return it back to Milwaukee Police Department.
So your commitment to this is the same, right?
Yeah,
Personnel-wise? Yeah,
it's completely the same.
thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, Chief, are we still at, how many people are we sending? Refresh my memory, please.
Right now, we are looking at sending one. Yep.
Very good, thank you. All right, with that, I'll take a motion for approval.
Motion to approve BOT 2034 amended agreement for law enforcement services for the Democratic National Convention as outlined in the police chief.
Second motion? Very good. Any other discussion on this item? None, we'll take a roll call for approval, please.
Trustee South,
Aye.
trustee Chadwick,
Aye.
President Birmingham,
Aye.
trustee Burbian,
Aye.
trustee Olet,
Aye.
trustee Siborowski, trustee Renfro.
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D, BOT 2035, discussing necessary action regarding 2020 public celebration, event changes due to the COVID-19 outbreak.
I'm here.
I believe,
Can you hear me?
correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we were asked to put this on the agenda at the last meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
So I can give you guys all an update for this calendar in general, or if you want to discuss individual events, it's up to you.
Tell us in general where we are at this summer.
Sure, no problem. So this weekend was supposed to be Pep-Palooza. We canceled that with no rescheduled date based on the fact that things were still kind of up in the air and this fall was pretty busy to begin with. Schools Out was also supposed to be in May, and they've tentatively postponed that until September 1st to be more of a back-to-school event. The Lions Pancake Breakfast is postponed until the Saturday during Village Days of August 15th. The GTO Car Show and Gallery Night are going to be on the agenda for this Tuesday's PCC meeting. I kind of put it on hold last month just because things were up in the air, but I figured, well, let's just push it through, get it approved. Hopefully we can move forward with it since the car show is August 22nd and Gallery Night is in tandem with the Jazz and Blues Festival in September. So those we're still going to push through and get approved. The 4th of July parade, we still are ready to go based on your decision. If you're still planning on making that decision at the meeting in June, we're ready to go move forward with it. If it's a go, if we aren't able to do that, we do have an option that was discussed to have the parade on Village Day, during Village Days on that Sunday, in which all of the acts are agreeable to it for the majority. The only stipulation, which this is going to be on the agenda for next Tuesday's PCC meeting as well, is the fact that this year the Lions already have approved and signed contracts for their stage to be in the street in front of Gazebo Park. So unfortunately, that would obviously impede on any potential parade route that we would have. So we're going to be discussing that and making suggestions and maybe a recommendation at next Tuesday's PCC meeting if it comes to that. We also, if the downtown market is a go, I'd like to sell morning beverages there again on behalf of the PCC, just to add to enhance that event and also make a little money for some of these groups, maybe partner with some other groups as well. And in the meantime, we've just been doing contests and activities to kind of promote the businesses and get people to patronize them during this difficult time and reward them with village gift cards to bring money back into the village for when the businesses do open up and everything as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now. The one question that I do have is just for the newsletter. I have kind of a schedule of events for June, which include the movie in Gazebo Park, Food Truck Frenzy, all the Gazebo concerts, and I kind of just wanted to make sure that those still are potentially a go for right now, or if we have any different stance on those right now too.
I would think we could control where people said things, you know.
Me too.
Because some of the bands are already asking, but I think we're on for it. Yes.
I probably missed it here because there's so many things. Really nice update, by the way. I didn't hear Oktoberfest. Is that still on?
Yes, I mean, I can put that on the agenda for next Tuesday's meeting. We just basically were taking one step at a time and kind of going through August and early September. This year, Heydays got pushed way back to the end of September, so it's September 26th. So we haven't done the application for that yet, just being that it's further out this year, whereas the other events
I
are
didn't hear
mid-August.
It's on until,
No, I didn't hear the phrase Oktoberfest, so I didn't think it was on.
Yeah. Yep, we're still planning on it, so.
Okay, I did.
so the other thing, Kristen, just real quickly, because one event that is out there and is on, and is, let everybody know, is we have that shredding event that's on, May 29th. So that is on right now. Sally, I see your hand, but hold on a minute. That is gonna be on yet. We did have an unfortunate situation, the guy that's running that for us had a heart attack today, a triple bypass. And we're figuring he had a heart attack and then a triple bypass today. So, he's got a partner that runs the thing, and we'll see how this goes. So we're standing by, but right now, we're going. Oh, okay, thank you. Sally, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple for Kristen. Kristen, I've been trying to catch up with the rest of the communities around us and what they're trying to do and how they're handling their events and stuff like that, and just trying to hear what they have to say. I'd like to hear maybe at the next month, I'd like to hear from you a little bit about reports about from what the rest of our the communities are doing. The
Sure,
impact of the
ICC too. We can do that from the ICC, and we're talking about that on ICC. So I can bring you a little report of what everybody's doing as well.
Okay, great.
Sure.
The impact of the Milwaukee canceling their fireworks for the 3rd of July, I think puts a lot of stress on the rest of the communities, whether to go forward with their events. I can honestly say half the people I talk to they can't wait. They're going to get out there and they're going to scream and they're going to go to everything. And then I get a whole nother group that's saying, you know, I'm not going out, I'm staying home. Okay, so it's a 50-50 and I just don't know which way to go for us. I think if it's a way to push it with the realization that we may not have the crowds, you know what, that's okay. At least we're out there and we're trying. So I guess in a way I'm looking at this as, you know, let's try to go through with the plans where we can and do it safely and just go forward. And if we get small crowds, we get small crowds.
Agreed. I did just get a call from South Milwaukee yesterday asking what our plan was, and they were for the 4th of July fireworks, and they're in line with us. They're waiting as long as possible. They'd like to move forward with it and aren't going to make that decision until they have to. So they're planning on that as well. So they called to kind of see where we stood. So they're along the same lines as us as well. So
Sally, Sally, as I reported earlier, so far there's only 2 communities, Milwaukee and Glendale, that have canceled their 4th of July activities, including fireworks. Glendale and Milwaukee, 2 of those 2. So the talk is, when I'm hearing from some of the other ones right now, they're all kind of where we are in standby mode to find out what's the governor's thing going to be after this Supreme Court thing looks at it, and what does that mean? Even that goes off, because there is a federal one that's on, and, you know, we have to look at the whole board. So we got a little time.
right.
Anybody else question on this idea, issue? Kristen, thank you very much for the upkeep.
Yep, nice update.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item E, BOT 2036, discussing necessary action regarding a contract for 4th of July fireworks. Kristen, go ahead and tell us about the fireworks contract.
Okay. Well, Sarah can maybe attest to this too, because she found out a little bit more information today. Basically, I'm sorry?
Hold on.
Sarah, is that right? I left it with you two to decide who was gonna present?
Yeah,
Sarah,
we're
if you
kinda
wanna
both
go
doing
for
it. Oh, I'll also start with how, because I emailed the vendor that we've been using for the last number of years, just to ask when we would have to make a decision. And they had given the addendum saying 30 days before, and if we canceled, we would get 50% of the show costs that we would have to pay, and that would be applied to next year. I did just get an email from them yesterday saying they need to let their truck vendor know by May 15th whether they need a truck to transport the fireworks to Greendale. So it's kind of seeming like we need to make a decision tonight or have a special meeting next week. But he also did send an email this morning saying we would work with you if you don't make a decision by May 15th. So I don't know exactly what that means, but Krista and Todd and I were kind of talking this morning. Maybe that's one event we could potentially have because you could get people to social distance. But it's kind of where we're at right now.
So if we should, what did you say, if we should, sign a contract and cancel anyway, what is our penalty?
50%.
50%, it's applied.
Sarah?
Would
Yeah.
it be applied to next year?
Yeah, and Todd did mention, like, we do have a risk. What if this fireworks vendor goes out of business because of all this COVID stuff and they're not getting enough business? We do have a risk that we would lose that money possibly.
Yeah, we just wanted you to know that, I mean, if they go bankrupt, which, obviously, if you're a fireworks vendor and everybody cancels Fourth of July fireworks, that's
We'll hand out sparklers.
significantly affect your business. My suggestion would be just do it this year.
I
Agreed.
Even if we did a festival, we still got a fireworks.
Amen. Amen.
Social distance, if that's where we still are, then that's.
Exactly.
All right, so I will take, a motion here.
Motion to approve BOT 2036, 2020 contract for the 4th of July fireworks in the amount of $15,000 as outlined by Sarah and Christian.
Second motion?
Third. Any other questions or discussion on this? If not, roll call for approval, please.
Trustee Chadwick?
Aye.
President Birmingham?
Aye.
Trustee Barbier?
Affirmative.
Trustee Olet?
Aye.
Trustee Siborowski? Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee Stubb?
Very good, thank you, thanks, I'm looking forward to it, so I hope this is great. We're moving to item 9, which is office report, Manager Michael.
Just briefly, it's obvious, people are starting to move around a lot more. You see them downtown here, you see them out on highways. Safer at home is becoming safer driving around in your car, I think. But our people are all working hard. I got a couple of my residents, they're going to get some kind of refund, because the dump was closed. Well, the reality is, we now have additional staff in the dump to enforce the social distancing that we have to do. So it's kind of a wash, it ended up being a wash. And mostly, our finances are being negatively, as Kristen brought up, negatively affected by this virus. I mean, I'm just I've never been a proponent of property taxes because everybody's the same, whether you're single person living alone, later years versus a family that has kids at the high school or all schools. Sales tax hits the people who are spending, the people who are doing. But in this instance, about 2/3 of the states have municipal sales tax, and they're really hurt right now. I'm just getting curious what the feds do with this stimulus that they're supposed to be giving the municipalities, because if they just give it to the ones that use sales tax, or do they give it out equally or population based or what? I mean, we could possibly lower property tax next year. I mean, if we got significant amount of money. I mean, I look like Highland Park, Illinois gets $14 million in sales tax.
Wow.
I mean, there's communities in Illinois that don't have property tax. It's just sales tax. That's it. And look what's going to happen then. This goes long term. Just wanted to bring that up so people realize. Also one thing that brought up the resident today, I don't think people outside of our group of board of trustees know how we've been contacting other municipalities, trying to kind of push towards trying to get things open. Haven't had a lot of support, and you know that because we've been both trying to do it. We only got support of a few municipalities in the county. But we did try the effort, and the League of Municipalities lobbies for us.
Yeah.
So I know I've had residents ask me that, what are we doing? So that's all I have.
Okay, very good. And with
Thank
my
you.
side,
Thank you, Todd.
Let you guys know, tomorrow we will receive a big report after the ICC meeting tomorrow at noon. We're really kind of getting into, the guts of where communities are going, so, for the summer. So we'll kind of see, but I'll kind of give you where everybody else is. And, we're staying tuned, Todd's on them as well, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Lots of calls, the county has a call, the ICC has a call,
The fire chief.
Fire chief
police
has a
chief,
call.
too.
We're on a lot of calls, and they're all around the same thing of how everything's going and where we're moving to. So, everything sounds like, kind of what you're hearing already out there, is that there's, in some areas, a decline in new cases. In some areas, there's a continued rise, although there is deaths going up. So that's kind of, really pushing a lot of communities to, especially north, jump into, to where they're going. So we have to do that on our own eventually, so. But I'll give you guys a report, and in the next meeting, I think we should talk more about where we're at. So, that's all I have. Yes, please.
How many cases do we have right now?
Last I looked, it was 33. And with one death.
Yeah, one died, 33 to go up to 33 now.
Some of those 33 recovered, if I remember right.
What?
Yeah.
And then we can have a little update more on through that. And maybe this would be a good time before we go to the comments. I'd just like the chief both to give us, is that what chief has?
Kenton is off. His son's being deployed.
Chief, could you just give a little, at this point, what's going on your end, and, I would appreciate it, just a, update on what's happening on your guys' end.
Sure. I mean, responding to calls for service is pretty much about the same. I mean, we're responding to all calls for service. We are getting a lot of citizen complaints about violations of the Safer at Home order. It's really the same, a lot of the same things. Large groups at the park, large groups at the soccer field, people jumping the fences at the high school and going on the field. The school's been contacting us during the day because, obviously their athletic facilities are closed, so they don't want people out on the fields, probably for liability issues. But otherwise, things have been okay. We're doing okay with PPEs. We are, as of Monday, we will be completely up to full staff. The staff here has been doing a really good job, and the officers as well, of cleaning their vehicles every day, cleaning our workstations, and knock on wood, we haven't had anybody get sick. So we're continuing to take the precautions that we need to take, and otherwise it's business as normal for us. We are seeing increased traffic and increased traffic violations and complaints, and we have been addressing those as well.
Chief, I appreciate, hearing from a lot of citizens. They're seeing you guys out and about a lot, which is great. So I really appreciate you guys, doing and being out there and doing all that you're doing, visibly, out there. So any comments for the chief or anybody else? All right, thanks, chief.
Yep, you're welcome.
We'll catch the fire chief next time. So with that, this is the last, citizens comments area. This is your last time to give us a comment. So please give your name and address for the record if you are so inclined to talk to us. Anybody? Anybody, comment? With that, we'll move forward. We are going to go to item 11, which is closed session. The board shall convene in closed session pursuant to section 19.85 IE to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public property, the investment of public funds, or conduct the public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. specifically discussed accommodation and incentives for Greendale businesses due to the COVID-19 virus. I'll take a motion.
Motion to move in.
By the way, the board will not convene back into open session. Go ahead, sorry.
No, that's it. Move to go into closed session as outlined by President Birmingham for the reasons listed.
Second motion. Just want to make sure, Sarah, was there no citizen comment? Like it was a short period we left.
I did unmute the 4 people that were on, then nobody spoke up.
They came on and then you could see
Okay,
it,
just want to make
so
sure.
they did hear it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes, roll call for, closed session.
President Birmingham?
Aye.
Trustee Burden?
Aye.
Trustee Olet?
Aye.
Trustee Siborowski? Trustee McFall?
Aye.
Trustee Sal?
Aye.
Trustee Chadwick?
Aye.